We reached Site 14 just before dusk, the hour when everything still looks familiar, but the shadows have started deciding their shapes. Nice, Lena said, dropping her pack beside the fire ring. Flat ground. No slope. Marcus kicked at the dirt. Give it 10 minutes. Every site looks good until you lie down. Theo laughed and tapped the wooden post. 14. Officially ours. That part mattered. Public campground. Assigned sites. Little carved numbers on posts. You follow the system, nothing weird happens. That's the deal. We set up like we always did. 2 tents close to the fire pit. Mine and Lena's, Marcus just beyond. Theo a little farther out near the trees. By the time the fire caught, the sky had gone that deep, dim blue where everything feels quieter than it should. There were other campers. You could hear them. Distant laughter. A radio playing softly. A car door slamming somewhere down the loop. Normal sounds, spaced out enough to make you feel alone. That's the best part, Lena said, holding her hands to the fire. Close enough to people. Far enough not to care. Theo raised his cup. To Site 14. We all echoed it, half joking. The first sound that didn't belong was footsteps. Gravel crunching, steady, approaching from the road. Not unusual, people come in late. But they didn't pass. They slowed, then stopped just outside the edge of our firelight. Hey! A voice called. Excuse me? Lena stood. Yeah. For figures stepped forward. Campers. Backpacks, headlamps, rolled tents. Perfectly ordinary. Except for the way they looked at us. Confused. Not annoyed, confused. What are you doing? The man in front asked. Marcus frowned. Camping. This is our site. Silence settled in, thin and immediate. Theo pointed at the post. Site 14. We checked in. So did we, the man said. When? Lena asked. This afternoon. So did we. The group exchanged glances. Not suspicious, uncertain, like we were the ones saying something strange. We've been here since around 3, a woman said. We got here at 5, I replied. Set up, built the fire. We've been here. The man's eyes drifted past us, toward the tents. He went still. Why is our tent already set up? I turned. First, nothing looked wrong. Then my brain caught up. There were 4 tents. We had pitched 3. The 4th sat just beyond Theo's, slightly out of the firelight. Same shape, same color. Theo took a step forward. That's mine. No, the woman said. That's ours. It has my patch, Theo said, voice tightening. I fixed that tier last year. She shook her head slowly. We did that too. The fire cracked sharply, louder than it should have. Marcus stood, hands raised slightly. Okay, something's off. Let's just figure it out. We're not trying to cause anything, the man said. But this is our site. Lena crossed her arms. We're not leaving. We're not asking you to leave, the woman replied. We just want to know why you're here. That word again. We checked everything. The post, 14. The map, Loop B, Site 14. We walked the path in both directions, counting sites. Everything lined up perfectly. Other campers sat at their fires, glanced up as we passed, then went back to whatever they were doing. No one looked concerned. When we returned, both groups stopped at the edge of the firelight like we were approaching something shared, not owned. Names, Marcus said. We introduced ourselves. They did the same. Different names. But something was wrong in the details. The man, Daniel, kept glancing at Marcus like he knew him. The woman, Clara, stood with her weight shifted exactly like Lena did when she was uncomfortable. The quiet one, Joel, moved the way Theo did, restless, always adjusting his stance. Not copies. Not quite. Close enough to feel like a mistake. We ended up sitting around the same fire. There wasn't really a decision. No one suggested it. It just happened. The firelight behaved strangely. Sometimes it lit our faces, leaving theirs in shadow. Sometimes the opposite. Never both at once. Like it couldn't decide who it belonged to. Conversation came in fragments. When did you leave? Daniel asked. This morning, I said. Lena hesitated. No, yesterday. We stayed at that motel. I turned to her. No, we didn't. Her expression shifted. Yeah, we did. Across the fire, Clara leaned forward. We stayed at a motel too. Theo shook his head. We drove straight through. Joel looked up. You didn't, he said quietly. We all looked at him. You saw the sign, he added. Campground full. You almost turned back. A cold feeling crept into my chest. Because that sounded familiar. Not like a memory. Like something I'd forgotten on purpose. I didn't see a sign, I said. Joel held my gaze. You did. You just don't remember anymore. The temperature dropped all at once. Our breath fogged. The fire shrank, though no one touched it. And then, from deeper in the campground, Site 14, we all turned. Another group stood at the edge of the trees. For figures, they hesitated like we had. Hey! One of them called. Is this Site 14? No one answered. They stepped closer. And as they entered the firelight, my stomach turned. One of them looked like me. Not exact. Not perfect. But close enough that my brain struggled to reject it. Same jacket. Same build. Same face. Slightly wrong, like it had been remembered instead of seen. The others, similar distortions. Echoes of the rest of us. Sorry, the version of me said. We think this is our site. Daniel stood abruptly. No. Marcus stood too. It's ours. No, I said, barely hearing myself. The fire flared, shadows stretching across the ground. They didn't match. They overlapped wrong. Too many limbs, too many shapes trying to occupy the same space. The version of me tilted his head. You came after us, he said calmly. I shook my head. No. Yes, he said. You just don't remember yet. Behind him, deeper in the trees, more voices. Site 14. Is this it? Are they still here? The campground didn't feel contained anymore. The paths stretched too far. The darkness between sites too deep. Like everything led here. Theo whispered, How many? No one answered. Because we were all staring at the ground. Footprints. Layered over each other in tight circles around the fire pit. Dozens. Hundreds. Pressed into the dirt. Overlapping. Repeating. Like people had stood here, argued here, left. And then come back. Again. And again. The version of me smiled faintly. Not threatening. Certain. You should go, he said. But you won't. Another voice called from the trees. Site 14. The wooden post caught the firelight. For a second, it wasn't 14. The number looked carved over itself again and again, layers of the same shape, slightly misaligned. As if it had been rewritten, repeated, reset. The fire dipped lower. The air grew tighter. And beneath my feet, I felt it. A subtle shift in the ground. Not movement, adjustment. Like something below was making space. Preparing for the next group to arrive. And step into the firelight. And look at us, confused, and say with complete certainty, we've been here first. The fire crackled in reverse, sucking smoke back into the wood. At first, it sounded like someone inhaling through their teeth. Mika noticed it before anyone else. She'd been staring into the fire the way people do when conversation thins out, letting the glow flatten her thoughts, letting the flicker fill the silence. The others were mid-argument about whether they'd packed enough fuel for the hike back out tomorrow. Something about batteries. But the sound, it wasn't right. Instead of the usual dry popping and soft exhale of burning wood, the fire made a thin, drawn-in hiss, like breath being pulled back into a throat. The smoke above it didn't rise. It sagged. It hovered, then folded down into itself in slow, deliberate spirals, disappearing into the glowing seams of the logs. Mika, June said, you're doing that thing again. She didn't answer immediately. Her eyes stayed fixed on the fire. Listen, she said quietly. Kenji snorted. To what? Your existential crisis. No. The fire. They humored her for a second. The forest was quiet enough that even small sounds felt exaggerated. The brush of wind through leaves, the distant creak of branches settling. The fire pit sat in a shallow clearing, ringed with stones blackened by years of use. Beyond that, the forest pressed in thick and patient. The fire made the sound again. A soft, inward crackle, like something chewing backward. June frowned. That's weird. Kenji shrugged. It's damp wood. Happens. No, Mika said. Watch the smoke. They did. The gray tendrils rising from the logs slowed, stuttered, then curled back down. Not all at once, just a few strands as if testing the motion. They sank into the gaps between the wood, vanishing like breath sucked through a straw. Kenji leaned forward. That's just the wind. There's no wind, June said. He was right. The trees stood completely still. The leaves didn't tremble. Even the air felt thick, as if it had weight. Mika felt a strange pressure behind her eyes. It's going in, she whispered. No one spoke for a moment. Then Kenji laughed. Too loudly, too fast. You're both messing with me. I'm not, June said. Mika didn't look away. The firelight flickered across her face, but it didn't seem to reflect properly. The shadows on her skin lagged behind the movement, like an afterimage. It's pulling, she said. Pulling what? Kenji asked. Everything. The fire gave another backward crackle. This time, the sound didn't fade. It lingered, stretching out, as if time itself were being drawn thin. Mika felt it tug at her hearing, distorting the space between 1 second and the next. June rubbed his arms. Okay. That's not normal. Kenji stood up. I'm adding more wood. Don't, Mika said sharply. He paused. Why not? She hesitated. The answer felt obvious but also impossible to explain. It's not burning. It's taking it back. Kenji rolled his eyes. That's not a thing. He grabbed a log from the stack and tossed it onto the fire. The moment it landed, the flames dipped. Not outward, but inward, collapsing toward the center. The glow dimmed, then flared again, brighter than before. But the new wood didn't catch. It blackened instantly, its surface shrinking as if something were consuming it from the inside. The smoke that should have burst upward instead folded down, streaming into the cracks of the log like water draining. Kenji's smile faded. Okay, he said. That's. The fire crackled again. This time, all three of them flinched. The sound came not just from the pit, but from behind them, from the trees, from somewhere under the ground. June turned slowly. Did you hear that? Mika nodded. It's not just the fire. Kenji forced a laugh, but it sounded thin. Echo. It's just an echo. Echoes don't come first, June said. They fell silent again. The forest felt different now. Not just quiet, compressed. As if the air had been pulled tight around them. Even the darkness between the trees seemed closer, denser. Mika blinked. For a moment, the fire wasn't there. Or rather, it was there but not as it had been. The logs were whole, unburned. The flames moved backward, folding into themselves, shrinking down into nothing. The smoke reversed, threading back into the wood. Then the image snapped back. The fire burned as before, if burning was the right word. Mika, June said. You okay? She swallowed. Did you see that? See what? It rewound. Kenji shook his head. You're freaking yourself out. But his voice had lost its confidence. June crouched closer to the fire. It's colder, he said. Mika frowned. What? The heat, June said. It's wrong. He extended his hand toward the flames. Normally, the air would grow hotter as you got closer, pushing you back. But now, it's warm here, he said, holding his hand a few inches away. Then he moved it closer. But here, he jerked his hand back. It's cold, he said. Kenji laughed nervously. That's impossible. Try it. Kenji hesitated, then crouched beside him. He reached out, mimicking the motion. Okay, that's... His expression changed. Not right. The closer his hand got to the center of the fire, the more his breath fogged. A thin layer of frost seemed to form on the surface of the nearest log, only to vanish as the flame folded over it. Mika's gaze drifted upward. The smoke, or what should have been smoke, was barely visible now. The air above the fire looked empty. Too empty, as if something had been removed from it. "Do you smell that?" she asked. June sniffed. "No." Kenji shook his head. "It's like..." Mika searched for the word. "Like old air. Like something sealed." The fire crackled again. This time it wasn't just a sound. It was a voice. Not clear. Not words. Just a shape of sound that almost formed language before collapsing back into that inward hiss. June stood up abruptly. "We should put it out." "How?" Kenji asked. "It's not even. Just do it." Kenji grabbed the water bottle and poured it over the fire. The water never reached it. Halfway down, the stream broke apart, reversing direction midair. Droplets snapped upward, pulling back into the bottle's mouth with a sharp, sucking sound. Kenji dropped it. "Okay," he said. "Okay. That's not funny." Mika felt a sudden, sharp pressure in her chest. The fire brightened. For a split second, she saw something inside it. Not a shape. Not exactly. A memory. The same campsite. The same fire pit. But older. The stones less worn. The trees thicker, closer. And people. Different people. They sat where Mika and the others sat now, their faces lit by a normal, forward-burning fire. One of them looked up, directly at her. The image snapped away. Mika staggered back. "It's showing things." June stared at her. "What?" "Before," she said. "Or after. I don't know." Kenji shook his head violently. "No. No, we're leaving." He grabbed his backpack and slung it over his shoulder. "Right now." June nodded. Yeah, that's..." The fire crackled. All three of them froze. The sound stretched, deepened, and this time it didn't stop. It became a continuous pull, like a long, steady inhale. The flames bent inward sharply. The light around them dimmed, not because the fire was dying, but because it was being drawn into a single point at its center. Mika felt her thoughts stutter. For a moment, she couldn't remember how they'd gotten here. Then, she was sitting down again. The argument about batteries. The fire normal. She blinked. June was mid-sentence. "I'm just saying we should have brought the solar pack." Kenji rolled his eyes. Mika's heart pounded. "No," she said. They both looked at her. "What?" Kenji asked. She turned to the fire. It burned normally. Smoke rose. Crackles popped outward. But, for just a second, a thin thread of smoke dipped downward. Mika stood slowly. "We've done this already," she said. June frowned. "Done what?" "This," she said. "Sitting here, talking. The fire." Kenji laughed. "Yeah, that's called time." "No," Mika said. "It's not moving forward." The fire crackled. "Backward." June stiffened. "Okay, I heard that." Kenji didn't laugh this time. The smoke paused. Then slowly, deliberately, it began to sink. Mika felt the pressure in her chest again. Stronger now. Familiar. Like a breath being taken. Not by her, but through her. The fire flared. And for a brief, impossible moment, Mika saw 4 people sitting around it. Then 5. Then 6. Each version slightly different. Each one watching the fire. Each one a little less themselves. The image collapsed. Mika gasped. Kenji grabbed his bag again. "We're leaving. Now." June nodded, backing away. Mika didn't move. Her eyes were fixed on the fire. "It's not letting us," she said softly. "What do you mean?" June asked. The fire crackled. And somewhere beneath them, something answered. A deep, hollow echo, rising from the roots of the forest, threading through the soil, pulling toward the surface. Mika smiled faintly. Not because she wanted to, but because something inside the fire was remembering how. We already left, she said. Kenji froze. What? She looked at him. For a moment, her face didn't match her voice. And it pulled us back. The fire inhaled. The light folded inward. And the smoke didn't come back out this time.